So we're live.
I want to take this opportunity to thank you all for making the effort to be here this morning for our congregational meeting, and to welcome those who are online. I've got the agenda, which is very standard. This shouldn't look at all unusual to us. We've had this form of an agenda for the last 19 years, at least. Moving down the agenda, let us pray. Heavenly Father, this is a big meeting for us in the life of the community church. We humbly seek the presence of the Holy Spirit in the words that we choose, the ideas we express, how we express them, and of course the decisions which unfold. All we ask is that this meeting be a blessing to your people and our life in this place. We ask this all humbly in the name of Christ, the head of the church. Amen.
Amen.
Our opening hymn is number 543, and it is Come Build a Church, number 543.
How we'll sing this is we will sing the refrain. There's 3 verses, but let's just sing the first one, and then we'll go back and end with the refrain.
Thank you. That's close.
The motion before us to accept the agenda as presented and to extend the privilege of the floor to our guests and non-members. It's really 2 motions in one. They're pretty routine. They typically pass. As I said, the agenda before us is our routine work for our annual congregational meeting. And extending the floor to anyone who might be a non-member is simply a courtesy to them to be able to hear their voice and give them permission to speak at a meeting where they otherwise wouldn't be appropriate. So a motion would be in order, or a motion. Do we have a motion before us?
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion, questions, or comments? It's our time to discuss. Typically, you discuss a motion beforehand, but that takes forever. and so it's much more efficient to get the motion than to discuss it. So I do want to allow that opportunity. Typically, there is no discussion because it's a very straightforward motion. All those in favor of the motion before us, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions, the ayes carry. Moving down the agenda, Charlie spoke briefly in the announcements about the budget, but he has budget information to share with us and will present it to us at this time. I'll pass it out.
Richard.
Oh,
Sorry, there was a little glitch in the printout. I'll have it for you in a few minutes. Donna's doing it
okay.
as we speak. Missed one column, the important column, the 2024 budget. It has the 2022, 2023, and the 2024 column mysteriously disappeared. So we'll have it for you shortly. But I want you to know that what we did was we said, wait a minute, this is all going to change. I mean, come next in a few months, as we all know, we'll be merging with the Upper Ridge, hopefully, unless you all disagree. We'll be merging with Upper Ridgewood Community Church. There'll be obviously new members. There'll obviously be additional funds being committed to the merged church. So things will change quite a bit. There'll be hopefully, there'll be some additional costs. When I say hopefully, we're looking at merging the music departments, if you will. There'll be an enhanced music program. With that will be some additional costs that we're looking to have offset by additional income. So we're looking forward to that as well. So again, that will all change with a new budget that we'll put together for the new merged church. But in the meantime, it's incumbent upon us to have a budget for 2024 so you can see where we're going. So essentially what we did was we took the 2023 budget, moved all the numbers forward, made some minor changes to things that we know changed. With regard to some of the income, some of the costs, for instance, there's a little bit of an increase in the rent from the nursery school. That'll be reflected there as income, and so on and so forth. So you'll see those. Donna's printing them out as we speak. I think I hear the printer buzzing along. And we'll pass it out, give you some time to review it, and have some questions from that point on. Okay?
Can I go see if I can help her?
No, go ahead. You can continue.
Well, okay. What is your favor? Shall we proceed down the agenda and then come back? The next item on our agenda is the election of our consistory members. As Charlie just said, there's a lot of question marks in the year ahead. There may well be a merger. That changes everything with regard to the consistory. The consistory we have now, the elders and deacons, have kind of walked this path with us. In my remarks, I'm going to review how we got to this point, but I don't want to do that at the moment. They have walked from last April when this began to this present moment, and given the uncertainties going forward, I had hoped, and I brought it up with the consistory, that they would continue to serve, and they agreed that they would. The idea of making the effort to recruit new consistory members, then have them serve possibly for a few months, and then go through the whole thing again with another church just seemed like a lot of work. And it also gave us the disadvantage of bringing people on board that hadn't been in the decision-making all the way through. And so I was very grateful when I brought it up that to a person, they said, sure, we'll do that. That's why the motion before you reads to re-elect our current consistory until either the merger with Upper Ridgewood Community Church is approved by classis or our next congregational meeting. That was about as accurate as I could word it, given our circumstances. So I, for one, am very grateful to the consistory for being willing to continue to serve on. Before I ask for a motion, discussion, questions, or comments? I'll take that as your understanding of why the motion is worded the way it is. Is there the motion before us? Half makes the motion. Is it seconded?
Okay.
It's been seconded. Further discussion, questions, or comments? Again, just a word of thanks to all the consistory members. All those in favor of the motion before us to re-elect the consistory as per the motion in our bulletin, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? The ayes carry. Now, before I move on to my remarks, we're going to go back and Charlie will finish up talking about the budget for 2024.
Okay, so we have the correct printout now. Got the missing column. Pass that. One more?
Thank you.
Does everybody have enough? Got one?
On the back. That's on the back.
Carter, did you get one? Everyone get one? So, take a few minutes to review. So we put year ending December 23rd, that's the budget that we put together for 2023. It's not the actuals. So what we did, like I said, we slid over the numbers from 2023 to 2024, made some changes. I will make a note for everyone, miscellaneous income, that includes the classes income that we get for Richard's work with classes. So it's lumped in. It has to do with the software that we have. Our church doesn't allow certain things to change. So just wanted to make note of that. That's miscellaneous isn't all of a sudden going from $200 to $37,240. It includes everything lumped in, including the income that we're getting from Richard's additional work with the classes. Okay? Any questions on that? That also increases the retirement number because of Richard's additional work there with the classes. So again, the lump sum income is there, and then we take off, the different pieces, if you will, including retirement and so on. Any other glaring things? We've added a sexton, as we may or may not know, who does, by the way, the cleaning. So we don't have the cleaning service anymore. The sexton is doing the cleaning, so the cleaning service comes off, and now the sexton that we have employed does the vacuuming, the cleaning, so on and so forth.
Yeah, with the sexton too, he also does minor maintenance, which is your people blessing. So we lose the cleaning service, but we also gain a sexton, which includes minor maintenance.
Other items that increased, a little bit of increase on second page, building grounds, the insurance, the compensation insurance went up a little bit. Utilities, as we all know, all utilities have gone up a little bit. We all feel that pain. Trying to see what else may have gone up or changed. Anything else, anyone? Blair, if anyone sees anything that they have a question of, please let us know. Anyone? Just know, again, this is temporary. It'll change in a few months. Yes, Bill?
Charlie, buildings and grounds, church comp insurance, is that workers' comp, or is that comprehensive to include building and all insurance? Or is there a breakdown on that?
That the insurance is for the building and what we need to,
I'm sorry, couldn't hear you.
the insurance is for the building and the grounds.
Building and grounds.
Insurance you'll find under administrative
Oh,
expenses.
that's under
And
admin.
it's, something like something a quarter, you'll see it on there, it's probably under the second entries.
Okay,
And
thank
that's
you.
workman's comp, just workman's comp.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? And again, if you know, we're asking you to do this in, you know, in real time with a short amount of time, but if you see anything else, be happy to address it even later on in the meeting or even during our brunch time, happy to talk about it. But like I said, this is only temporary. It will change. Any other questions? Bill? No?
I'm good.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you.
I just noticed an oversight in my agenda. Typically, we ask for motion to support the consistory's budget. In our tradition, it's the consistory's responsibility to put a budget. In the wisdom of our consistory, we present it to the congregation and we ask for your support. We approved an agenda without that motion. I'm not a parliamentarian. I take that as a matter of pride, actually. But if there is such a motion, I'd be willing to entertain it. A motion to support the budget as presented. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ricardo, is it seconded? Seconded by Olga, to support the 2023 budget as presented, 24 budget as presented. Apologies for that typo. All those in favor of the motion before us, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? The ayes carry. We have already done the consistory elections, and I'm moving down to the State of the Church address, and then our discussions. I just want to remind the congregation, remind us all that the vote we'll be asking for, our next to last motion, is to affirm the consistory's consensus. And I say consensus because right now that's what there is around consistory. We haven't had a formal vote to merge. And we wanted the opportunity to have the congregation gather and talk and discuss. But the vote, as with the vote for the budget, is advisory to the consistory when we've elected to make those decisions on behalf of the congregation. That having been explained, let me begin. I have half my remarks prepared, and then I have just personal notes to share with you, the other half of my remarks. I want to begin by my brief prepared remarks by quoting from last year's State of the Church address, which I shared with you last December, so almost a year ago, not quite. A lot has happened since. I ended my address to you almost a year ago by saying this, and I quote, "Like it or not, the pandemic has hurled us into a necessary reformation. I've often wondered whether we're experiencing our last post-pandemic gasp or an exciting transition to a new church for our new century. I think both potentials are before us. The good news is that since the pandemic, we have been in the throes of restructuring in all sorts of ways. Then I went on to list a few. We worship differently. Most of our giving income is given now by way of Zelle or Venmo. The vast majority of our congregation is worshiping with us online. We have even welcomed online adherents, and we have a new geographic footprint up and down the East Coast. This is my favorite part. We're not the church we were 3 years ago, and we can't afford to be the church we are now 3 years from now. Service, finances, and reform remain our top challenges. Championing them is not optional, it's a necessity. I want to close by assuring you the consistory is fully aware of what challenges us and is fully committed to addressing these challenges without being limited to the way things have always been done. Depending upon how one views the potential of the merger, which we'll talk about this morning, those could be said to be prophetic words. Maybe the Lord knows what he has in store for us after all. In the remainder of my remarks, what I want to do is to quickly review how we've arrived at this moment and what merger looks like going forward, then open it up to the rest of consistory for comments, as well as, of course, the congregation. In the spring of 2023, I was invited up to the Upper Ridgewood Community Church to speak with their pastor, who has since retired, their vice president, Elder Vice President Steve Literati, and their treasurer. At first, I thought I was going up there with my classes hat on to give them advice with regard to their options. I quickly realized that I was up there with my pastor's hat on, my other pastor's hat on, the pastor of the community church. At that point, we learned that we were among the churches they were considering for a merger. As a result of that, later that spring, our two consistories met in the hall, and we got to know them a little. We talked about our concept of what merger looks like, and it was overall just a pleasant time, an affirming time. After that, we were invited up to the Ridgewood Community Church. We invited them to come and worship with us.
That's right.
That too proved to be a pleasant experience. On September 10th, we were invited up to the Upper Ridgewood Church to worship with them. I'll be honest with you, my first gut reaction was, why are we going up there to worship when every scenario has the new church using our facilities? Why shouldn't they come down here? But they extended us an invitation, didn't want to be rude. We went up there and we worshiped with them, and I'm really glad we did. That experience got some of our members to realize exactly what they're losing by having their church come to be disbanded. And that was helpful for me as well. Since then, on October 19th, the Upper Ridgewood Community Church was disbanded. The recommendation was brought to the classis by church supervision. The chair is Reverend Anna Jackson, and that was approved by the classis. Typically what happens in a case like that, that's the end of the story. The classis becomes responsible for the properties and the assets and the debts and everything. And what happens is they dispose of that however they can, and then those assets go to the classis. In this particular case, from the beginning, our approach to merger has been a merger of equals. And that is one of the reasons why we're approaching the merger the way we are. We, I would say, are a church Right now, just getting by. We have responded well to the pandemic. We have people who are online who support us. Without that support, without their presence and involvement, we would be struggling as well. We don't have to go to the classes and say, disband us. But we can't merge as equals without doing that. We went up to Upper Ridgewood. We appreciated everything they're losing. Their sacred space, they've lost their pastor, everything that is their Sunday routine and their church to them is going to be disbanded as of the 31st of December. First Sunday in January, we're going to be having them come down here, and we'll begin to worship together. In February, the intention is for us to go to classes and to say, please dissolve us, not with the usual intent of having our church sold and so forth, but with the idea that, yes, we would be superseded as they have been, but the intention of the classes is to then organize us as an organizing congregation, to take our legacies in ministry and have them create a new legacy in ministry together. You might ask why, and I have this scenario in my mind. What we can do together is far greater than what we can do individually. If I went to our consistory and I said, you know, Ho-Ho-Kus is teeming with young families. Carol and I saw the pumpkin Halloween parade go past the house. Trust me, Ho-Ho-Kus is filled with young families. If I went to the consistory and said, you know, we could really benefit by having, and I'm just using this as an example, not a commitment of any sort, but if I went to our consistory and said, we could really benefit by a part-time pastor of youth and family, they would say, hey, you know, that's a great idea in Ho-Ho-Kus with all these young families. But we can't do that. And if their pastor had done that for them, it would be the same conversation. Oh, yeah. In the scenario that we have with them to merge, what happens is when the properties are disposed of in Upper Ridgewood, they become, that's what they bring down the hill, along with their members and their pledges and their commitment. They bring that down the hill, and that's a potential part of the endowment, such that when I say to a new consistory, you know, we might benefit from a part-time youth and family pastor. It's not, well, yes, that's a great idea, but we can't do that. It's, oh, how would we do that? What would that look like? Suddenly, it's a possibility. And that's just one example. We're not in a position right now to have to go and say, disband us. We can't make a go of it. I don't know what 5 years brings, what 7 years brings, what 10 years brings. I remember when I very first arrived, there was someone who said very authoritatively, we have 9 years, then we have to close our doors. That was 19 years ago. I don't know what the future brings, but I would much rather see us involved in a new church 5 years from now than going it alone and having to go to the classes 5 years, 7 years, whatever that is, and saying, you know, we've tried, we did well, got through the pandemic, but we can no longer make a go of it. We go before the classes to ask for disbandment in February with a very different frame of mind. And when the Upper Ridgewood people come, they're going to be coming to, initially, a very familiar building. They're going to see some of their familiar faces. They're going to see our faces. But everything will have changed initially for them. Our disadvantage is that for us, we're talking about a new church, but everything's going to be the same. It's going to feel the same initially. What we need to do is to get into that headspace of being a new church. Typically what happens with a merger, a declining Protestant mainline church merges with another church, and they resume the decline together. I'm not interested in that, and I know no one is interested in that. We have to get into a different headspace. We have to be able to do ministry differently, and a merger will enable us to be able to do that. After February, the idea would be after Easter. Ministers and churches are busy during March and April. At the end of April, we would, as I understand the scenario right now, we would be organized as an organizing church. And once we show the consistory, the classes that we have facilities, we have people willing to serve as elders and deacons, we have a membership list, we have a pastor identified. You have to remember, when Ho-Ho-Kus closes, so does my hall. Yikes! I will be homeless and unemployed at the same time. This sounds like a great plan. The superseding classes, superseding consistory provided to us by the classes would then extend me a contract. And then that contract would be renewed by the organizing church. And then once we're organized, I would be extended a call. In the meanwhile, we are forming a mission committee. I have one person's arm to mercilessly twist to serve on it, and Lisette has agreed to serve on it. Charlie's partner up the hill, Elder Steve Literati, the vice president, has identified at least 2 people to serve, and I think they're close to getting a 3rd person. The consistory has asked if anyone would like to be a candidate to be considered on that 3rd seat in the mission committee to come forward. We have one person who's come forward, and we want to give the opportunity for others to come forward to be considered as well. Also online, yes. Thank you, Charlie. If you are online, you are eligible to serve on the committee. You would be zoomed in, and we have to make some kind of consideration for the possible time changes and so forth. But we've done that in the past with a certain member who called in from Italy. So we've done it before, we can do it again. I just want to close my remarks with thank yous to the consistory again for willing to serve until this is seen through, and especially my partner here, Charlie Puella. We meet before every consistory meeting. We've met to prepare for this meeting, and there have been plenty of times where he said, you know, I don't know about that, and saved me from a lot of grief. So I thank you. He's smiling, so it's true. At this point, is there any questions, comments, discussion, either by consistory or by the congregation?
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
Just know that, yes, we're the consistory of a group of us that we get together monthly. We don't pretend to know everything. We don't pretend to know what's going to happen, what it's going to look like, what we might be able to do. The point is, the opportunity is pretty endless. I mean, and we don't know what we don't know yet. So any ideas, like, Pastor Richard was saying, the youth pastor. I mean, that's a cool idea to reach out to the community and bring in more people. And just reach out to the community, period. Do things that are for the community at large. So any ideas, any thoughts, pro or con, please bring them forward. Do you want to have them on speaker, or?
Andrew says that we should be able to be heard.
Okay, great.
All right, Charlie brings up a good point in terms of the uncertainty. There are a lot of people involved. Classes is, the way I describe it, bishop by committee. And so it involves a lot of individuals. The advantage that we have is that your pastor is the executive minister of classes, and so I know these people, and I know the processes, and can, for lack of a better phrase, intervene on our behalf and in our best interests, and keep the congregation, the consistory informed. But there are a lot of uncertainties. When I first discussed this with the clerk of classes, he brought up the fact that with this scenario, I would be without a call. And it's like, oh, I didn't realize that. But it makes perfect sense because we would be closing. But I feel Charlie and I have spoken a lot. Anyone else would like to share at this time? Yes.
Hi, I'm Penny Baker. Yeah, a couple of things. First, a little background. I grew up in this church, so I'm going to come from a point of view slightly different than maybe somebody else, because I have a lifetime of connection to the community church in Ho-Ho-Kus. Huh?
Do you want to come here?
Sure, I don't mind.
I think you might be able to be heard.
Okay. I don't mind. I have nothing really prepared to say other than it's going to come from my heart. I very much love this church, and I really feel strongly that I hate to see it dissolved. I want there to be a community church of Ho-Ho-Kus going forward. I really believe in that. I have heard everything that's been said, and I've read everything that you've shared with us in the newsletter. But I have lots of concerns. We exist for our congregation. We exist also for this community. We know we have people coming in and out of here all the time, from the Scouts to the Garden Club to Contemporary Club used to come here. We are presence in this town as we exist, as we are here now. We have meaning, I think, to this town. I have my doubts. I would hope to pray to God that this will be wonderful if we go forward with this. But I don't want to lose what we have here, what we have always contributed, as I said, to our congregation, but also to our community. If we dissolve ourselves, the merger, I grant you, sounds just wonderful. But who is it wonderful for? If it keeps us going as an entity, yes, absolutely. Do we know for sure, for instance, that all the people in the upper community church truly want to come here? I know they say they do, but they may choose to go to Wyckoff Reformed or Old Paramus Reformed or somewhere else. Do we know they're going to financially support us? You know, we all do the best we can now, but will they have, well, maybe we will and maybe we won't. I'm concerned about the finances. But I'm mostly concerned about, I guess, losing our identity. And I know you can't really assure us, and I think the problem I have is that there are so many doubts. Is there anyone else that is assisting us in this? Is there a merger specialist? If you were a corporation and things were going, we'd have all sorts of lawyers and all sorts of people doing things, but I think I just don't know. Well-intentioned people are wonderful, as you all are. But do we have some professional person helping us? This is very serious. I also have some concerns by the finances. Does Classes take the money when they sell that church up there? We all know what Upper Ridgewood land prices are probably worth up there. Do we get that? Does anybody actually know? Do we get
Well,
those?
I can talk to that.
Okay.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
No,
We're here to discuss, not to debate, so I didn't want to make it look like a debate. I share the sense of uncertainty. The consistory is not bringing guarantees to the congregation. The Classes is very experienced with mergers, but this is an experiment. I didn't use the word experiment before, but we have to understand that this, the way of merging, is to create a new church, not to do it as it's usually done, which means two churches and a declining culture, and the story just continues as on. That's part of why it's being done the way it is. But with regard to a very pertinent question, the finances, at one point in my conversations with the clerk, he said, well, when things are disposed of, the classes may reserve some of the funds for themselves and then give a portion to the new church. And at that point, I didn't say anything. I got thinking about that, thinking it's not particularly fair, and it limits the potential of a merger. And since then, knowing the people involved, I pushed back on the idea with the clerk, explaining that the Upper Ridgewood people have contributed and supported that church for 100 years. They put their heart and soul and money into that. And then for the classes to kindly grant us a portion of that, not only cheats us, but the people of Upper Ridgewood, because one of the things they're bringing are their assets. And I have since spoken to others in the classes, in the key committees, who feel as I do. It is the intention, as I speak to you right now, for the classes to grant us the sale, the proceeds of the sale, which, as you can imagine, I don't want to throw out a figure because I don't know what that will be. Typically what happens is that a church spends down their assets and the classes takes over, and then they say, oh great, now we've got these debts to pay and a roof to repair, and we have no money, and the classes ends up having to kind of carry the church. They have left enough money for the classes to be able to keep the heat on, to make whatever repairs, it's in excellent condition, and to dispose of the property. At that point, your pastor and the classes minister is going to be in heightened alert to make sure that what is sold comes down to us. But
That would be great.
yeah.
I guess one of my
I just
overall.
wanted to
Okay.
give that little bit of history.
I'll finish here just by saying
I
that.
don't mean to rush you.
No, it's fine. Is that, that's a huge concern. Pressure on us to take them in to become a completely new church. It's a Christian thing to do, welcome them to us and all that. I love that, that's wonderful. But financially, the idea I would think would be, and I guess you've now pretty much explained it, that we're on good footing then. We get more solid so that we, like you said, don't face this 5 years from now when we're in the same position. If you truly believe that that's really going to happen, then I can accept this. I will always, okay, I'm going to ask the question, do we keep our name?
And the accurate answer is, I don't know.
Don't know, okay.
And that's the true answer. I would anticipate a new church would have a new name, but
Probably.
I don't know what my role, my relationship to the mission committee will be. I might be ex officio, or I might be the convener. That exactly hasn't been worked out. But I can't say next meeting is in the
No,
process of being formed.
I understand.
Yeah.
But we do serve the community as well as us. And so I love the name. But there again, as I said, I have a history here,
So
I can't dismiss my feelings about
So
that.
I'll add one other thing.
I'll let you go on that.
Also
I can go
is-
back to this.
The merger doesn't work unless, more funds come here. I mean, it really doesn't, it really doesn't work otherwise. So we're really confident that it will happen that way, that the money will come to us.
One thing I can commit to is that as the classes minister, I'm going to have my finger on that pulse because at one point I thought, well, half of a large loaf is better than nothing. But I thought, wait a minute, that whole loaf belongs to the church, whether it's big or small, and so it should come to the new church. I use the example I described it as the classes kind of dipping into the endowment of the church. It just happens to be at a vulnerable time when the new church is being formed. But I said, I believe that the Grove Reformed Church is very well endowed in our classes, and that is probably the most endowed. The classes would never go to Grove and say, hey, you're well endowed. Just give us some of this, the classes doesn't do that. Why would they do that to a new church that's being formed? There's just a lot of arguments that can be made for the whole loaf to come down and to endow, along with the possibilities of that.
The other thing is the Upper Ridgewood Community Church Vice President, Steve, has gotten already some commitment from their congregation to join the new merged church. He's also asked, I think, put out a form asking the congregation for their commitment.
He's in the process of, they don't have a fund drive. One of the reasons why they are asked to be dissolved as of the 31st is because instead of waiting for April, when the new church will be organized, they're tired, they know the end is coming, they were financed to the 31st of December, and so they wanted to keep to that. What Steve is in the process of doing is to say, in effect, please commit to coming to the Ho-Ho-Kus Church and financing it, making a pledge commitment to this new entity. And he's in the process of doing that right now.
So,
anyone else who wants to share? Bill?
Well, first of all, Penny didn't ask for this, but I want to second everything she said. As some of you may not know, my great-grandmother and my grandfather and grandmother were founding members of this church. So, Penny, my roots are deep, as are some others sitting next to me who got married here. You touched on several things that I was thinking about, and I'm glad you brought them up, because I read in Richard's Friday update, maybe I'm one of the few that read it, but I want you to know I do. Only kidding. I thought we could get a little humor out of this. But anyway, I was concerned about the impact of the classes and what they would do. You mentioned it in the Friday bulletin about they still have to get involved. And to that extent, Penny, you brought it up, and I'm glad we got some answers from the same things I've been thinking about too. So just want you to know the roots are deep here for a lot of us. And I'll end with that. And thank you both and everyone for going through what you're going through. Not an easy task. And I'm very respectful of what you're trying to do. And let's hope and pray to God that it comes to fruition.
thank you.
If anyone wants to have a hand in creating the vision for the new combined church, a way of doing that is volunteering to join the group that is discussing that I will be a part of.
We have one open spot, so.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to contribute to that and to
Would
become
you
involved
take
in
two as one?
We can talk about that.
That's a good deal. 2 for 1.
2 for 1, is that the merged organization?
Because one car.
One car.
But yeah, I mean, everyone's feelings, it's an emotional time, so everyone's emotions, their thoughts are welcome, their feelings are welcome, they're all acknowledged, and we welcome any questions that you have. We're trying to be an open book, so any questions, any concerns, we're happy to field them and hopefully assuage them.
Yeah, if anyone has any ideas,
That too.
any new ideas, just think it through. It's a very exciting time, and I had the pleasure of joining Pastor Richard to the recent classis meeting in Bergenfield, and talking to some of the classis directors, the president, Anna, also she's become the chair and vice president next year.
Vice President, yes.
They're excited about this idea because it's not been done before. For them, it's also exciting to think about, two congregations joining and creating something that can be sustainable. And again, you know, when they dispose of the property up in Ridgewood, I mean, gosh, that property's worth a lot, as we can imagine. And that money would come to us. We could sustain this new merged church just on the income from investing that money. I mean, let's think about that.
Yeah.
And then the additional funds that would come with pledges and so on and so forth. Wow, it's pretty darn exciting. So I just want you to know that we're excited. I know the classes in general are very excited about the idea, and we're looking for, you know, any thoughts, any ideas that you might have as well.
That was the first time I heard the word pleasure and classes meeting used in the same sentence.
It was certainly interesting.
There are, with this merger, there are uncertainties, and I wish I could dismiss them, but I think if I came here with a bunch of assurances, that would be ingenuine, to say the least. The advantage we have, again, is that I, at the time, happened to be the classes minister. At one point, the Upper Ridgewood Community Church was concerned about the disposition of their assets, and they wanted to speak to the person in charge, which only demonstrated they don't understand how the classes works, because there's a lot of different committees who have their finger in the pie. It's not like you go to one person. That's the advantage or disadvantage of the Presbyterian form of government. It's not like you go to a bishop and say, we want your commitment to do this. It doesn't work that way. So vigilance on our part is going to be very important.
I'll also answer, I think Penny had one other thought about having, you know, attorneys or lawyers involved. Unfortunately, I even brought that up to Pastor Richard, saying, should we have a contract, an agreement, a written agreement saying the money will come to us? It's not a corporation. It's not a merger of two corporations, unfortunately. So it's really...
It involves some vulnerability. It involves vulnerability on their part, and they've taken that jump of faith, and they will be dissolved as of the 31st. And we have to make that same jump. And with that, all the uncertainties that go along with it.
But we make them if we, I'm sorry, if we merge. I mean, you've already decided, I guess, that we're definitely doing this, but I mean, yes, we have a lot to gain. We do, particularly financially.
Yes.
It would be fantastic, I grant you. But
There is loss
what,
involved.
I just feel like we're losing. I just feel that we're making ourselves vulnerable when we don't have to. You're saying we have to dissolve. Why do we have to be as equals? Why can't they just? I know I'm just
Go ahead.
devil's advocate, questioning here.
Yeah, this is why we're meeting.
But I honestly, I mean seriously, I mean, it just so happened that they were vulnerable at this particular time, at this particular year, at this particular moment. And the classes, it came to our attention that they were in trouble, and this whole idea of merging and everything, and you indicated that originally that they had considered other churches in the Reformed movement to possibly interview with. I get merger, I just don't get dissolving us.
Okay, I have a question, I thought on that, Penny. Before dissolving us, maybe we should put forth to them, would you be equipped or more comfortable if this was dissolved, or can we be as one without dissolving?
Well, let me just answer
Okay.
Penny's question. There are two reasons. They considered other area Reformed churches, and our approach has been from the beginning to merge as equals. And for us to do that and to actually form a new church, we have to struggle with the very things you're struggling with. the law side of it. And I don't mean to be dismissive of that. They are in a position where they are losing everything. And we can't merge as equals for two reasons. The first is, a traditional merger is the classes gives a list of potential members, they come down the hill and they merge with us. And that's the kind of merger that typically almost always results in the resumption of decline. The usual formula has proven not to work. That was the first reason. The other reason is the reason we were chosen by Upper Ridgewood was precisely because they saw in us an opportunity to continue their legacy in ministry as opposed to being shut down or being absorbed. I'm going to quote someone without their permission. Sorry, Lisette. Deacon Lisette Palella, when the consistories met, said to them, we're not looking for a bailout. We don't need a bailout. And I think for them, losing everything, they felt like when they merge with us, if they merge with us, that's a future. That's hope. If they would go to the other Reformed churches, they'd just be absorbed, and their resources would go to bailing them out.
And Richard, I see that from their point of view is fantastic. I mean, I get that. If I were them, I'd want that too. Why do we have to be the rescuers?
I don't want us to be seen as rescuers. I want us to be seen as equal partners.
Right, I know, but the equal part is just something that you came up with because it's not you individually, and all of you collectively, as a wonderful new way to look at things. I'm not saying new is not good. I'm so fearful of what we're going to lose. Our own identity. Well, I haven't really started.
Really worried about the name.
Well, all right, whatever.
I just want
don't
you-
mock me on that, please.
No. Your concerns are valid.
I don't know.
Your concerns are being
Just-
heard.
just-
My sense is, and I may be mistaken, that there'll be affirmation of this. But even with that, I just want to assure you that there is the law side of the ledger. It's going to be hard for us to see because we will be welcoming people in January who've lost everything, and we will feel like it's the same building, it's the same people, it's the same pastor, where's the new? And that won't be felt until later on in the process, just because of the timing. But I don't want to be dismissive of your feelings and your concerns.
Sorry, I don't think you are.
One word that keeps battling me is just alternative. Because I look at it like it's a great alternative for us to welcome more people, build the church again with another people who need an alternative to where to go. With that being said, I mean, there's enough people still out there that want to go to church. To me, it's almost that simple. We're here, they want to go somewhere. It's not all online and all this. You know, Christmas and Easter, I don't really care. I love it when you have to put seats in the back. I usher every year, it was great. When was the last time that happened? Just within ourselves. To be able to offer to other people that event, whatever we're going to, man, come on. And then I hate saying, yeah, the people come 2 times a year. I don't like it either. But maybe those 2 times get them to come 3 or 4 more, or 20. And we need people. With all those potential people, members, whatever, it's going to become, and I hate to say it, their church too. And maybe they got some really good ideas we've never heard yet. We're like, oh, this is pretty cool. But we never could afford it, or we never had the wherewithal to be able to do it. This may open up the whole can of worms of good and bad, but we have that anyway. But let's do it together. And that's the word, community, that we all kind of like that word. That's great, but you know what? I guess getting old, it's like, I'll go with the flow if it's the right flow, and I think these people want to go with the right flow. Let's be part of it. If it's an experiment, Richard, hey, we all like, somebody's gonna have to do it sooner or later. Why not be us? But let it work together, and I don't think we can do anything but be successful.
And there'll be more resources, more people to
Well, that's-
do some
well,
of
of
the
course,
things
we're-
that
you know-
we might want to do.
A lot of us went to Ridgewood High School. We know what Ridgewood's like. Come on, it's in the paper every day, but the point is, it's just not about the money.
Yeah.
No, it's about
It
extra hands.
definitely helps, but more bodies, more people,
Yep.
more choices, more select. I just look at it as a really great win. Let's do it, just make sure we try and do it the best way we can.
It is.
I would like to add then that I think what you said was absolutely great, because you can imagine what the future can hold. Well, as part of the consistory that has been involved with them, coming here and also going up there, if that eases your question, because
Yeah.
you begin to get to know people by name.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we should think of these people as future friends and part of our congregation, because that's what I felt. A lot of people have been involved today who don't normally come to those things, and that's, I understand, you know, not everybody can be involved for everything, but it made a big difference to us as the consistory, because we felt a feeling towards them in both times. And you were saying you felt particularly proud, Pastor Richard, because there were more of us than them. That particular day we went up to them, and it was a good day. So that, looking to the future with positivity, it's hard to do when you haven't seen it or seen them. But when I just to say, I was talking to one person, he said, I don't know why we haven't done this sooner. He said, I think you're wonderful. You've got that church, the nursery school that helps pay for it. And we're not allowed to have one.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of enthusiasm there too. So, just to add in.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share before we ask for a motion? Ricardo?
Well, just to wrap up what everybody said, when I joined the church back in the 90s, sometimes we had to put extra chairs because this was full.
Absolutely.
Right.
And now, if we have half a dozen people, it's too much sometimes. So I always said, are we going to see these pews full again? And this is the moment. So I think that it's a positive thing, because otherwise, as you say, the decline is going to continue and continue. We're going to have pretty much no congregation, at least physically here. But this congregation is going to come, is going to fill the pew, and is going to inject new life to the church.
Thank you, Ricardo. One of the challenges of the new church, which the mission committee will have, at least initially, is to understand what it is to be a church for the 21st century. Ken Saunders challenged me with that last week when he talked about the membership of the mission committee, of which we have 3 slots. He said, well, why don't you recruit someone who's online, because that's the growing part of the church, or that's the majority of the church. And I said to him, I'm in the old-fashioned, church mode, and the church is changing, and I find myself to be the pastor of a church that I don't understand sometimes. Yes, I need to be reminded that the world is changing, and the church has to change as well to be able to live the gospel in people's lives. Before I ask for motion, any other people want to share? Linda.
I think it's all very exciting. I look forward to it. I enjoyed when they came. I enjoyed when we went there. The music was incredible. So I got to know some of the people. I think it's all a wonderful possibility. But to Penny's point, I think this church has been such an important part of the community here. That, as you said about the nursery school, the Boy Scouts, you know, they used to do all the dance preparations here. I mean, just lots of things have gone on in this church. And so I do hope that the future of the church will continue the outreach within our town as well. And I don't know what Ridgewood, you know, what they do with their people, what kind of programs they have, or what, you know, who else uses their church, who else they want to include. I'm just hoping it doesn't lose its connection with our town, or that it can include it, let's put it that way, that it can include it.
I'm trying to be careful not to say something that sounds like a commitment and then find out that it's not going to happen. You know my limitations. I think traditionally, and I need to think non-traditionally. I can't imagine a church located here, made up of these people and those people, and not have the mission committee come up and say something like, community ministry is probably you know, one of our focuses at least. But I can't make that commitment. I just can't see this church or any church being where we are and not having a community focus. My understanding by way of the Boy Scouts, they have a troop up there which is very small. And this is just regarding the Boy Scouts, when I met with their vice president at one point, I realized, ooh, we're gonna have new papers, new organizing papers. I never remember what the correct phrase is. We're the charter organization of 254. They're going to have to get new papers and everything. And their vice president said, well, I wondered if there would be room for our troop. I'm thinking, well, I suppose 2 troops could meet here. But I'll meet with Dr. Barone, who is our scoutmaster, met with him, Dave Stir, Rick Saul, one Monday, I think it was last Monday before Scout started, and Robert had already been in touch with their scoutmaster, and they would like to be absorbed into our troop. It's our intention to keep Troop 54, but that has to be worked out.
If he goes back in our history, we combined 54 with St. Bart's in the 60s, somewhere in there.
That's right.
Because we both had troops. So somehow it can be done.
I didn't want to commit to 2 troops when I realized how much space they use, how much space we have, and I thought, I wasn't going to go to Robert and say, good news, we have another troop coming. But their troop is small enough where it would be, at least the discussion right now is for them to be absorbed into Troop 54.
Can I just add
Yes.
that it meant the world to our garden club when we had no home, that I called you, and I mean, I was president then, I'm president again. Anyway, I asked, could we come and meet here? And of course, that was the answer, was, of course, Linda, you can. Well, let me ask, you know, we had to make sure, but it was like, of course you can. And it just is so important to all the different groups to feel like this is their home and that they can come here and that then it is all welcome. So I'm just.
To me, that's just an asset that we bring. So I can't, again, I'm a traditionalist, and I don't want to prejudge the work of the mission committee, but I would second everything you said.
Thank you.
I think we would fight that if they said, well, wait a minute, the garden club can't meet here. Are you kidding?
I didn't mean this as an answer for the garden club to continue. I just wanted to say thank you for what the welcoming that we got.
I don't think that's going to change.
And we
The
weren't
welcoming is not
we aren't
going to
the only
change.
group that has been welcomed. So
I am absolutely thrilled, if I haven't made that clear to you before, that I'm an honorary member of the Garden Club. I went from being that guy who quit to being an honorary member. I count that redemption.
Get your words right.
Yeah, there you
Get
go.
your boots on.
Is there a motion before us to affirm consistory's consensus
It's your turn.
to merge with the Upper Ridgewood Community Church?
Yeah, go ahead, do it.
So
Moved by Pat, is it seconded?
That's right there.
I don't like my name in those notes.
It's been seconded by Linda. Further Further discussion, questions, or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes carry. The next, moving down the agenda, is a motion to adjourn with prayer. And we'll know that will be followed by brunch, so please stay and enjoy. Non-debatable. All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed? Ayes carried. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, our meeting is done, our work is finished, and once again, we step out into the future with hope. We step out mindful of the uncertainties we have to navigate and seeking your guidance and your blessing. We give you thanks for the food which we're about to enjoy and for the fellowship around our tables. Indeed, for all the blessings of our lives, both great and small. Amen.